What's good, YouTube? I'm still on my work trip, still at the hotel, going through random questions I received. Let me make sure this camera is straight. All right, yep, still unshaven. My wife wants me to see if I can grow a beard. Doesn't look like it, but I guess we'll let it fill all the way in to see if that helps. Happy wife, happy life, I guess. So I'll be looking ridiculous on my videos for the next couple of months. Anyway, somebody asked the question of why do men start caring when women stop? I suppose, put simply, you don't know what you got until it's gone, right? We don't really know the value of the things that are given to us freely, without our work, without our effort. Most people generally come to expect or become entitled to your best once you start to give it to them. It's no different in relationships. That's why I always tell people, first of all, you're setting the tone for your relationship from day one, and that's why I always tell young ladies, don't get drunk and get high on the first date. Investigate, dig, figure out who this person is in front of you, and set an expectation. The problem is, a lot of you end up doing a little bit too much, extending yourself or overextending yourselves. You don't give a guy time enough to earn his place in your life, and he feels the progress, but he doesn't feel any stress from that progress because he hasn't put in on it. And because he hadn't put in on it, he hadn't contributed very much. When you do walk away, he's gotten very used to the benefit of your relationship and the benefit of your love and the benefit of your affection. But he has never actually had to put in any work. So when you go away, it feels like a resource has left him. It feels like, like I said, a benefit has left him. Something that was, pretty enjoyable to him is now gone. Everybody feels the pinch when something that you enjoyed a lot, that was freely given to you is now gone. And people do become entitled to your best. It doesn't matter where you are. At work, if you have a really cool boss who's cool about off time, eventually employees will take advantage of it. If he's cool about when people come and go from breaks or lunch, eventually people will take that for granted and they will become entitled to that benefit. As soon as he starts to clamp down on the break times, if it's getting abused, if it's anything like my job, people have a fit. They go off. How dare you? How dare you take this thing that wasn't really mine to begin with, that you gave to me freely because I didn't earn it? A lot of times people expect your best if they've been receiving your best in the absence of giving you the same. So it's not that they start caring. They're really just trying to get the thing that they've lost, right? The benefit, the love, the affection, the support, the sex, the money, whatever you presented, they're missing that. And there's a mourning phase anytime you lose anything. If you have a car or something that you use every day that you don't particularly like, your car is not really nice, it's ugly, makes noises, and it embarrasses you a little bit when people get around, but it's a car, it gets you back and forth. Though you may not like the car or care about the car or nurture the car, you definitely need the car. You get used to the car getting you from point A to point B. Even though it's ugly, even though it's not the car you would prefer, as soon as that car breaks down, all of a sudden your world turns upside down. All you care about is fixing this car that you otherwise would despise. This car that you didn't appreciate so much before, that irritated you because it doesn't look like the beautiful cars that drive past your ugly ass car every day. Now this car means everything to you. Now you're scrambling to try to get this car fixed because you had a benefit from this car. This car got you from point A to point B. Now this car is broken down on the side of the road or sitting in the garage somewhere not moving. All of a sudden you appreciate this car. You started caring about this car once it stopped doing for you. So it's not this car, it's the service that the car presents that you're really trying to salvage. You still think just about the same of that car. A lot of you ladies are that car for a guy. You've done things for him, you give him stuff, you make love to him, you care for him, you nurture him, you make sure he's okay, you take care of his affairs. He doesn't necessarily care about you, he's not very impressed with you. But he does need your services. He does need what you present to him. He does need the love that you've given him because he's become dependent on it, even though he would prefer to get it from somewhere else. If any of us had a car that broke down that we otherwise hated or was disgusted by or irritated by or thought it was ugly and wasn't good enough for us, we would love that car for the first day we got it back if we got it fixed. But instead of getting it fixed, most of us would rather just get a new car, a nicer car. So we're always looking for an opportunity to trade our old car in for a nicer car. Some of you are the old car. He just hasn't found a nicer car to do the same thing that you do, that performs the same, that gets him from point A to point B in the same way, with the same love and the same care. And to be quite honest, women do it too. Women are pretty treacherous and sometimes evil to any man that they're not in love with. Any man that they're not currently crushing on, or the guys that don't give them butterflies get their ass to kiss, right? And as soon as that attention goes away, those same women turn to men and wonder where all of it went. And they all of a sudden start appreciating a man's compliments more, or appreciating a man's interest more than they used to. So many of us take attention and admiration for granted until the day comes that no one's looking for us or no one's checking for us. It's the same thing. Sometimes guys aren't caring about you because you stopped caring. They're mourning the loss of your service and of those things that they took for granted that you provided them, the things that they didn't have to provide for themselves. You were like that dusty car that they didn't care to have, but they would drive every day, drive it into the ground because it's the only car they have. Or it's the only car that they can depend on, that starts up every time they tell it to, that starts up every time they put the key in. Some women aren't very dependable. Some women don't care with their actions. Some women require respect. And a fair exchange of energy. The loss of feeling like somebody cared for him, the loss of feeling nurtured by someone, the loss of feeling admired or wanted. Whatever favors you did for him, whatever services you provided, whatever love you gave, he's mourning that. You're familiar. He might be fond of you, but if a person doesn't treat you like they care about you, odds are they've taken you for granted. It's a little bit of a culture shock to go from being loved, nurtured, and cared for to nothing. So there's some mourning that happens. There's some grieving that happens. People frantically try to figure out what's wrong with this car that they took for granted for so long. They can't wait to get that car fixed, shine it up, treat it respectfully until another nice car drives by that they don't think they can have, and they start to look at their car a little bit different, start to resent it again for not being the greatest sports car in the world or their dream car. For the sake of this metaphor, if a guy's treated you like a beat-up car for the majority of your relationship, I would think very hard before I went back to him, simply because he seems to care at this point. He's the same ungrateful person that he was before, but he's been deprived of something, and deprivation changes behavior. I like to watch those survival shows on Discovery Channel. One episode, this group of people who were surviving ass naked, naked and afraid. That's the show. One episode, these people were surviving, and they came to a place where there was an abundance of mangoes, right? So at first they were hungry. They were starving. And then they came into this place where all these mangoes were hanging off the trees, fresh mangoes. Mangoes are very acidic, but they didn't know that at the time. So they gorged themselves on mangoes. They were so happy to have something that satiated them, that had a little bit of moisture. After about a week or a couple of days eating the mangoes, they realized that the mangoes were breaking them out. They had that the acid was actually creating sores in their mouths, and they didn't want the mangoes anymore. They started cursing the mangoes. They got tired of eating the mangoes, so they decided to move on. Immediately when they moved on, they came across land where there were no mangoes, but there were pretty much nothing else. And all of a sudden, they wanted those mangoes back, right? The mangoes that they had cursed, they were so irritated at. They needed those mangoes. It's because those mangoes were better than nothing. Right. And no matter what you are to a person, no matter how they might take you for granted, no matter how much they don't want you, if they've gotten accustomed to you, then you become better than nothing. And they would do anything to get you back as compared to having nothing. And sometimes when somebody wants you back, it's not because they want you back, it's because they need you back for what you provide them. Don't be that unappreciated car. Don't go back into that relationship and assume the same roles you did, because if you do, you'll be in the same position soon enough. maybe they should start getting you from point A to point B sometimes. Maybe they should start working, or at least meeting you in the middle. If that can't be done, never look back. Anyway, I think I've rambled enough. That's all I got for now. Follow me at KFake24 on Instagram. I'll get with y'all later.